I'm trying to think. I know there's like synonyms for polymath, but my brain is already kind of shut down for the night. SI has left the building. I think that's what happens is like SI like totally abandons me and it goes. And ETI has like nothing to pull from. It's like, yeah, we're here, but nothing to work with. I actually thought of that. That's Da Vinci.
Da Vinci. What does that mean?
Like
What
Da
does it
Vinci.
mean?
Only like sometimes it's pronounced Da Vinci.
Da Vinci. Da Vinci. Is Da Vinci a polymath?
Yeah.
Okay. Da Vinci. Now I feel like saying it with like a pseudo Asian accent. Da Vinci.
Da Vinci.
Ah, Vinci. Yeah, I gotta fucking. I'm gonna have to beat Waits over the head with the club and drag him to an undisclosed location. That way, I can start the Ken and Waits podcast because that'd be great.
I would totally listen to that.
I don't know. I might have difficulty reining him in, but if I could, we could do it. I feel like that there'd be some good riff in there, but we'd have to talk about stuff. Talk about like that's one of the things. It's like I think you gotta come up with like fresh topics. Since I don't really utilize the NE all that good, it's like gotta try to find good topics to come up with. But at the same time, what people normally do is they just check in with what's going on in current culture, and it's like I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to fucking talk about fuck current culture. I don't want to. Donald Trump yesterday did. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Literature. Pansophic. I like that one.
Pansophic?
Yeah, so you'd be like pansophing.
Pan
get up to like pansurfing.
Pansurfing. Pansurfing sounds kind of like what's the word? It's not panhandling. I don't no, it's not. Maybe it is. I can't find it. It's the thing claim stakers used to do, like gold rush people.
Panning?
Is that it? Just panning for gold?
Yeah.
It's panning. That's the thing. It's not panning if you're keeping it authentic. It's just panning for gold.
Like Pansophic. I'm adding that to my official list.
Pansophic. I'm gonna try to wing it, but there was a title I gave myself on Slack. I might have to look it up on Slack because I think it applies fairly well.
I'm reading this really long list of possible synonyms for polymath. One of them is in jail.
What?
And it's giving his, description. It's like witting, versant, pansophic. I'm like, I want to know where this slang term came from.
I guarantee you there was some pansophic ENTP that was like, now listen, I know this looks bad. They kept finding out that some of the most adept polymaths also kept fucking ending up in jail.
Ending up in jail. Yeah, it's probably fair.
I was talking, I don't know if you were there, but I was talking to Taylor about this. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I was like, like back in like the 19th century and like before then, like ENTPs were just like both liberated and fucked. Because it's like, you don't have like emergency response time like you do these days. So it's like, you could get away with something for like 5 years before anybody figures it out. and then even then you might be across the country, but it's like even still, it's like you're just hanging around and you're like, there's fucking nothing going on. They left me here. There's nothing to do, but they left me all this dynamite. What am I supposed to do? But use it.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that you couldn't move very fast would have, caused a lot of. I feel like the NTP would have been like the quintessential like drifter. It's like, bored now. I guess I'll go like get on my horse until I arrive somewhere else or die.
Arrive somewhere else or die. Yeah.
I also feel like they were probably frequently bushwhacked if because they would be like on their horse like out in the middle of nowhere and just like totally not paying any attention to anything. Although horses I think are probably a good mode of transportation for ENTPs because they kind of drive themselves.
So I kind of feel like back in those days, the ESTPs probably still had the upper hand back then in most cases. Maybe not necessarily in most cases, but you're talking about the bushwhack cases. I think the ESTP would probably be a bit more tuned in, whereas nowadays ENTP's like, you fool, I have technology at my disposal.
I feel like the ENTPs probably had guns. I don't know if their guns worked or didn't work. I haven't decided that. But
I haven't decided.
They would like they're the ones that are, they're like the Quigleys that are like, I said I didn't have a use for Bizzle. I didn't say I couldn't use it, It's like people get surprised. They're like, but you don't look like a gunsmith, like mistakenly picking fights with the ENTP. But the ESTPs, like probably are more obviously, and the ENTPs, it's like, wait, how did you do that? You don't look like you can shoot a pistol.
The ENTP is just like, yeah, that might be part of it. It's like people keep
the ENTP, it's like, would be the one that's like, okay, the game is X, and instead they're gonna like grab the beer bottle and slam it on your head, or so, like, do something totally not expected. Like
that's
like, no, it's not. That's just like being innovative.
That's where my brain went just now. Is because I was like, luck probably was on their side fairly often because they're probably underestimated in several cases. It's like that exact thing you're talking about with appearance. It's like they don't look like, but you look at the eyes and you realize there's evil back there.
Yeah, they're nuts.
But I feel like the ENTPs they'd be a bit more underestimated, whereas I feel like the ESTPs would be the ones strolling into town like, hey guys, how's it going on? It's like it's just they got like a ring of scalps hanging from their neck.
Yeah.
It's a lot more overt. It's like, why do you have scalps hanging off your neck? It's like, well, I'd like to wear bling.
I feel like the ENTPs probably made up for it with just general frequency of like pissing people off.
Made up for it. By doing what? Pissing people off. That doesn't sound like making up for something.
Counters there, they might have been unsuspecting, but they probably,
It's like, you don't look like a problem, but I've met you. You're annoying as fuck.
It's like, I don't know, it might have actually been a bad combination to see if they look unsuspecting and they, like, irritate people, then, yeah.
Yep. Now I'm thinking of Stone Age ENTPs.
If it was like cinematic, it would be like, you have like the quintessential like accent, somebody insults somebody, or the ENTP like says, call somebody a liar or whatever, and then somehow next thing you know, like somebody's shot and dead, and the ENTP is like, what, like what was his problem? Like, why did he do that? I think there would be a lot of that, like after my like the ENTP surprise, like, I don't understand why that exactly happened, but okay.
So I've talked to people before because I was thinking about like earlier ENTPs and stuff like that. I was talking with, well, I've talked with different people before about like the emergence of type or stuff like that. And it's like some people think that it's like, even like 10,000 years ago, we didn't have all 16. I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm not too sure. I don't think it would be that recent that you'd have like just like a new style of being a person. Now, I do totally admit that probably there was a higher sensor ratio because the intuitives kept dying.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's also theories that show that, like, because if you look at like ADHD, which correlates to like ENTP and some other things, like it actually suggests that some of the more what is distractible in modern kind of societies was actually quite useful in like hunter-gatherer
True.
type stuff.
So then I'm wondering if the sort of slower sensors survived more once civilization came along. And when I say slower sensors, I mean like the ones that sort of absorb. Like I'm talking like maybe not STJs. I was gonna say SJs, but it's like I'd say actually no. I'm thinking like SJs in general now. I'm thinking maybe once civilization came along, things were easier because they were more replicable.
Yeah, I mean, they seem a little more suited to an agrarian society, in my opinion, because it's a predictable environment.
However,
but then you look at like ENTPs, they're more suited to, or like ESTPs, they're more suited to an unpredictable environment.
I was thinking though that like more specifically the STJs. In probably some situations you could include the SFJs in this, but thinking like the STJs is like if they survived long enough, like even prior to agrarian society, that could be useful because if you have youngins coming up that don't know how this or that works, and then you have somebody like I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is like I could see them as surviving. Mostly because they're like the human form of encyclopedia, where it's like they know what goes with what. No, that doesn't work. No, don't stick your dick in that. That sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely probably I mean, I can see the place for them.
ENTPs out there just dominating the prehistoric, and then keeps wondering why other ENTP friends keep dying, and they go to the STJ, the old STJ in the cave, and they're like, yo, why do they keep dying? It's like, what's going on? Or it's like, well, why do I feel so cold? And the STJ is like, well, you're bleeding. Yeah, that's just a scratch. It's like, no, it's not just a scratch, because 3 of you fuckers total in my life I've seen, and all 3 of them said it was just a scratch, and they're all dead now. So should probably take care of just that scratch because it looks infected.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, Dominant Any probably would do.
I feel like there had to be more ENTPs in primitive times because they were obviously useful, but they probably also died a lot.
I don't know. I think you also had people more often just pumping out kids. It wasn't like, modern Western civilization where, in the more middle class sort of families, you get them putting out 1 or 2, and it's like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. We got our 2 kids or something like that. I'm talking like more lower income housing where they're like, 9, 10, who gives a fuck? So it's like, I think just keep spitting out kids until you get a winner. And it's like, well, you had 4 SJ brothers